back today with another episode of Off the Shelf. Today we're taking a look at an item from 1982 called The Book of Swords and Other Magical Weapons. Please stick around. I'm AZ Mountaineer, and this is our channel, Old School Rules, where we celebrate the community of old school gamers and grognards who like classic RPGs, miniatures, magazines, and everything that goes with it. The Off the Shelf series is an opportunity to share an item from my collection with the community. Hopefully this is either introducing you to something you didn't know about before today, or maybe something you've heard about but don't have in your personal collection. And I hope this video will give you a better idea of exactly what this item is all about. So today we're taking a look at an item from 1982. It's called The Book of Swords and Other Magical Weapons. And this is by a gentleman named Douglas Herring. It's heavy stock paper, folio sized, paper folded in half and stapled. That's how it's put together. Now my copy, I'll show you again here, it doesn't have anything on the top left corner, but I've seen some of these in the top left corner have the word Lore Master, as if that were a company that was producing it. The version I have says it's a first printing from, let's see, September or December, September of 1982. So I don't know if the one with Lore Master on there comes later or before, frankly, but it feels like this is probably the first printing. From the look of it then, it looks like it's self-published, so I don't know really what Lore Master is and whether that was another name for his company or not. Let's take a look at the cover. So this cover, the Book of Swords, you know, it sounds like it would be weapons. It's actually some swords, a lot of axes, and a few helmets, and maybe there's two shields. Interestingly, and I'll show you this in a minute, what's on the cover, he tells you what this item is called, but he doesn't give you any stats for it in the book, which I thought was an interesting, unexpected change. Here's the rear cover. It just says, inside the book you'll find a wide range of interesting weapons to enhance any fantasy role-playing game, aka Dungeons and Dragons or RuneQuest or whatever else you're playing. And he is quite correct that each of these weapons has a beautiful illustration and has some detailed description. And that's really all it is. Just a number of magical weapons. Like I said, one suit of armor, 3 or 4 helmets, and then a shield or 2. So it's titled The Book of Swords and Other Magical Weapons. It's 30 pages. Again, my copy's printed in 1982. I don't think, if there were 2 printings, I think they were pretty close in time. There's no price printed on this, so I don't know what it was sold for in bookstores back at the time. And again, Douglas Herring is not only the author, if you will, but he's also the artist of all the art that's in here. This was on the inside cover. As he says, this is for use in your role-playing game, and he basically says, you know, characters, your players, I should say, have all the same books you do. They know what everything is, and if you want to add some interest, some mystery, some surprise to your game, you know, you need to get extra supplements like this. He says you might even take it one step farther because maybe your players have bought this as well. You should feel free to go in and change the stats to these weapons. I would tell you, having read this, that I probably would change the stats. These weapons are, for the most part, very overpowered. And I don't know that I'm not going to go through all the weapons. I'm just going to give you a few that I liked. But it was like, you know, 60, 68, 5d10. You know, damage in here, and some of them do damage plus something else like poison or flames or whatever as well. So I do think it's a good idea. I like the sort of the background, the explanation about them, and the ideas. Those are really good in this book. Here's his table of contents. He lists the name of each of his weapons that's in there, and I'll give that just slightly blown up there so you can see just a little bit closer. And as you read down through there, it's pretty obvious from the name of them or the parenthetical exactly what each of these things in here is. Like I said, there's 30 pages of this. Some pages have a couple of items on there. I'm just going to give you a few highlights to give you a sense of what it is. Here's Dragon Fang, and if you can see this one, the hilt has like a dragon head and arms, and then it's facing the blade, and so there's like flames etched into the sword here in this one. That one would cast a fireball in addition to being used as a sword. Here's Tyrfing, and they're not all dragon themed. I guess maybe those were the ones I liked the most. This one is covered, if you can see, in intricate runes all up and down the blade. I thought that was really neat. It says hundreds of inlaid runes. and it's a sword of sharpness. He's got several that are swords of sharpness or vorpal blades, which is, again, a little over the top, right? This one increases your attributes, increases your strength, increases your constitution. It's +6 to hit, and it does 5d6 damage. And if it strikes and does damage, it will inject poison for 2d4 into the person's bloodstream. Now, so here's the thing I liked about this, and he doesn't dig into it, but it says it must always drink blood or cause damage to somebody, right, when it's drawn. And I like that idea of once you pull this out of the scabbard, you're committed, you're going to have to do damage to somebody. And so whether you would maybe be cursed if you tried to put it away, or some bad effect would happen to you if you tried to put it away without letting it drink blood, as he says. I don't know, but you could get into something really clever, I think, there with that item. The next one, again, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. It's Luba Blania, and it's a bronze rune sword of the Eldar elves from the First Age. Again, there are some ruins down the blade, and I like this one. It's basically is a protection +2 to your armor class. Now, it's also sword of sharpness, does 3d6. That's probably too much, but I like the idea of a sword that sort of is enchanted by the elves that would give you some protection, maybe more so than combat bonuses. Okay, he had proportionately a lot more axes than you might think, but I like them quite a bit, so I'm going to talk about a few of those. Here's a short, so I think this looks dwarven, double-bladed axe. No plus to hit. There's something different, but it does 4d12. That's way too much. So I wouldn't do that. I'd probably do normal damage. But when it has a successful hit, this is what I liked. Save versus paralysis, or basically be disrupted. That the opponent would lose his or her next attack, or all attacks, I guess, in the next round if you had more than one. Helios, again, it's very similar. This one's more enchanted. It's got some extra gems in here. There's a diamond on the end that glows whenever you get near to anything dangerous. And otherwise, it's just very decorative. It's +3 to hit, 3d6 damage. I mean, again, really a lot of damage for an axe. Berlingar, the weapon of a mighty berserk dwarf. It gives +2 to strength and constitution, but, and this is again what I like about this, it's bloodthirsty and difficult to control once it's bitten, right? So once you do your first successful attack, I think I would probably flush that out and give you some type of sort of berserker effects on the character, right? So I like those things. And magic items, there's a little good, there's a little bad, right? This one is bonus extra +3 versus orcs, goblins, trolls. I like this special enemy. I think that's a good thing. Again, I think these are a little high tuned, high powered. Does 2d8 damage. Here's one of the helmets in here. This one, 90-foot infravision, telekinesis, so you can carry some of your treasure around, and true sight. That's not over the top. And I would say, you think about it, it's a good idea to give your character something to help them carry a little bit more treasure out of a dungeon. This might be my favorite one in here. I don't know if I'm saying this one correctly either, but Daemon Smear reminds me of the Joiner, right? So there's a dwarven hammer, looks simple. It says it's designed as a wrecking tool, and so here's what I like about it, is each time it hits, it does more and more damage. So the first one's 2d6, which is already pretty tough. I might just go a regular hammer damage on the first hit, but every hit after that that's successful, it's an extra d6, and this is up to a maximum of 30. That's an awful lot of rounds of combat, but I don't know if I would make it the same combat sort of melee session or just the same opponent. You'd have to maybe test it out a little bit and play and see how to tune this thing, but that's a really clever idea, and I like it quite a lot. Okay, this video is kind of short and sweet. Like I said, there's 30 pages, but I'm not going to go through and read every single one of them to you. This book can be, for 30 pages, it's a little maybe on the more expensive side. It's kind of hard to find, so in fairness, I get that. In this day and age, a lot of D&D stuff from that 70s, 80s is pretty hard to find. I like this one a lot. Like I said, it's got great ideas, and as he says in here, take my great ideas and you make them even better for your own campaign. That's the great thing about so much of this third-party stuff. It's really great idea material that a good DM can take and make his own or her own for the own campaign. That's it for today's video. I hope you guys are liking the videos. Hope you like the channel, and I hope that you're subscribed. If you think you have friends who would enjoy this content, I hope you'll send them our way and maybe they can be subscribers as well. And until next time, my friends, keep rolling 20s.